For today's practice, we're going to do some balance. So you may want to have a belt or a strap or something nearby just to give you some extra support. So let's start in our cross-legged position. And gently noticing where the breath is moving through your body today. Allow it to deepen, to lengthen. And keep this very gentle awareness on the breath while I let you know the focus of our practice. So today we're going to use the concept of drishti, which means a gaze. And particularly within the Ashtanga form of yoga, we use the gaze, 9 particular points of the gaze, to support different aspects of the pose. So it works in a number of ways. It helps to focus our attention, kind of improve our concentration. It also helps to move energy through the body. So it allows us to kind of cultivate this pranic awareness. And it allows the body to move in more natural and fluid ways. So we'll experiment with that today. And the first gaze that we often hear about in the yoga tradition is the middle of the forehead. It's sometimes called the third eye. So just now, as you're cultivating your breath, the eyes can be in a soft panoramic gaze, but imagine your attention just in the center of the forehead. So the forehead is smooth, it's open. And this is where we bring the gaze to when we're doing a meditation or just setting intention for the practice. And if you think about the word gaze, it's soft. It's gentle. This is not a stare. It helps us to focus our concentration, but without it feeling tight. So you'll find maybe that you work through 3 different stages. Initially, we're quite distracted. So just noticing right now in your environment or within your body, the kind of distractions that are around. And then the second step is to focus our attention. And we so often do this with the breath. But this morning we're adding this concept of drishti. So keeping your awareness between the eyes, the center of the forehead. And by the time we reach the end of this practice, we'll also be able to explore how it feels to have open awareness, where there's no longer need to train the mind to stay concentrated in one place, but where we can open up to all things. So let's start with some very gentle movement. You might want to bring the hands onto the knees and softly drop the chin into the chest. So notice how the gaze is moving down, and imagine that it was coming down towards the navel. And then gently lifting the head up. Maybe up into the sky, maybe exploring the tip of the nose. And then down once again. And let the weight of the head lengthen the neck and feeling into the upper shoulders. And then lifting up just to neutral. And then dropping left ear to left shoulder. So feeling the weight Lifting up, over to the other side, very softly. The neck can be quite vulnerable, so we just go in with a super tender awareness. And then just looking over your left shoulder and letting the eyes move right to the edges. And keeping the head where it is, but move the eyes back as if they were gazing out the right side. And then shift the eyes right far round so that the neck twists a little deeper. Notice how the movement kind of follows the gaze. And then shift the eyes back again without moving the head. And then a third time. Just using those moving eyes to maybe explore a little deeper into that twist. And then gently bringing everything round to the front and gazing over the right shoulder. So moving the eyes as far back as you can go. Particularly if you work a lot on the computer, the eyes tend to get quite tight. So these little eye stretches are also a useful aspect of our yoga practice. So shifting them now around to the left without moving the head, just moving the eyes. And then moving the eyes back and seeing if that allows a slightly deeper twist. Once more, gaze into the left, to the right, seeing if the head and neck are willing to follow. And then returning to the front. So feel how the whole head and the neck feel right in this moment. And then gently lifting the arms up overhead. And once again, the gaze can lift. So just see if you can make contact with your thumbs. And then bringing the arms down. And the chin can come back into the chest as we began. Imagine you're gazing at the navel, even if you can't see it. Inhale up. The gaze lifts up to the thumbs. And down. Just these gentle, flying movements with the arms, warming into the shoulders. If you're sitting on a cushion, just move it away now and bring the legs out in front with the knees bent. So we're going to take some of our undulations just to lubricate the spine. And you'll notice your gaze just moving up and down a little bit. And now gently placing yourself on the earth so you're in constructive rest. Take one vertebrae at a time, coming back. And then just lifting the head and the shoulders, and the gaze stays towards the navel. Softening back onto the earth, reaching forward with the hands, gaze at the navel. Just notice how far you feel able to lift. And notice what type of gaze you have. Is it quite dispassionate? Is it just noting? Or is there a little bit of evaluation? Do we like or dislike the things that we're gazing at? So just see if you can keep our gaze soft and appreciative. And now lifting the gaze beyond the knees, so right out in front, and just notice if the body is willing to follow. Are you able to go a little bit higher as you lift? See how the movements are able to follow the direction of our attention. Of course, the abdominal muscles are warming up as well, but you may just find that the body is willing to go further when our gaze is further. So maybe just to experiment, gaze at the navel once again, see if that kind of stops you, and then lift the eyes. See if that allows you to lift. So just playful, experimenting, as well as strengthening the abdominals, of course. And then coming all the way up, using whatever you need to, maybe holding the knees, crossing the ankles, and come onto hands and knees. So making the box shape, wrists under the shoulders, knees under the hips, and then take some cat and cow just to increase these undulations. Gaze back at the navel and then gaze out in front. So we often use drishti to help us balance. So of course when we're gazing at parts of the body, that may not be so useful because parts of the body tend to move. But what I invite you to do now is just link your gaze onto something that's steady, that's unmoving, and let your right leg float up behind you. Bringing it into the chest so the gaze moves back, and then back out. Find whatever it is that is steady, maybe a place on the floor in front. And then let's experiment. So the right leg lifts, we hold it there, the eyes are focused, and then letting the left arm lift. And see if you can really stretch right from the ball of the foot, right out through the fingertips, that the eyes are holding you in place. And then if you'd like to play, bring the elbow to the knee. So the gaze will shift. That might make us a little bit wobbly, but then fix it back as you stretch out once again. Just 3 times. Experimenting, curious, a little bit playful. And return to your box shape and take a couple of cat and cows just to equalize both sides of the body. And then we switch sides, and most of us have one side that feels quite strong and the other side that's a little more wobbly or vulnerable. So this may be your wobbly side, this may be your stronger side. Just see whether our drishti can help us. So bring the knee in, the gaze moves back, and stretch out. Find something on the floor just to hold your attention. And then the next time the left leg moves back, let the right arm reach in front and feel yourself being pulled in 2 opposite directions. And then if you'd like to try, just bringing elbow to knee, you may be wobbly. When you stretch out again, refocus and find your balance. And then return to our box and settle back into child's pose. So here the eyes can close, but what we often do when the eyes are closed is we start to remember things or plan. You know, the mind becomes distracted by thoughts. So this is where we can focus once again in the center of the forehead, that third eye, and allow the forehead to soften. And then as you move forward, the eyes are open, just feel the body shifting. So we'll come into a modified upward facing dog. That's when the hips hang, the head lifts a little. And on the third time we move forward, just hold it there. The head is up, but the gaze is on the tip of the nose. And then moving back. And this time as we shift forward, let the toes tuck, coming into our first downward dog of the practice. So the knees can bend one at a time, just warming up the calves and the hamstrings. And again, this is where we gaze towards the navel, the lower tantien, that energy center in the body. So by moving our attention there, we're also inviting the breath there. And this helps enhance where we hold energy in the body, really gathering it in the abdomen. And then coming into your still downward facing dog. Feel the neck nice and long. Pull the forearms in towards each other so that the shoulders can broaden. And then softly floating forward into plank. Back into downward facing dog. Forward into plank. Notice the eyes move. And back. One last time, just feeling the shift in the weight, clawing the fingers to make sure the hands and the wrists are supported. And back, downward facing dog. Now letting the right leg lift up behind you. Again, let's experiment here. So keep your gaze back on the navel and try and bring that right foot forward. How far does it go? Just notice where it comes to rest on the ground. And then back, lift it. Again, keep the eyes back. Try and bring the foot forward. And then back. And for the third time, we're going to lift the gaze. So even in front of the hands, and just notice whether this allows the foot to come a bit further forward. Seeing if our body, the movement of the body, is supported by the movement of the eyes. And bringing that left knee down now. You can keep the toes tucked, make it nice and strong. And push that front foot into the earth so that you come up. So we're in the square shape with the legs, pulling that right hip back, the left knee forward so that we're really holding ourselves nice and steady. Draw the tailbone under. And then lifting the arms up into the sky and see if your body is willing to find balance as the gaze lifts to find the thumbs. And then gently release. We're going to take the left hand down, looking downwards, really rooting that hand into the ground. Let the right arm lift and just notice the extent of your twist. And now let your gaze draw up the arm, across the chest and up to the top hand. And as your eyes lift, how does the body respond? Can you feel yourself lengthening through both arms, moving into the twist? And then release. Hand to the earth and stepping back, downward facing dog. Forward into plank, just finding this movement to keep the muscles warm and to give that sense of flow, pranic flow, energy flow through the body. And now the left leg floated up behind you. The gaze is back at the navel. And then just see where that left foot's willing to step forward to. Look at it, notice, and take it back. Keep the gaze back, see where it'll reach. Return it back up into the sky, and then lift your eyes. Imagine that foot following, and just notice if it will come a little further forward between the hands. And if it does get stuck, of course, we have our own hand to support and lift the leg. Now bring that back knee down just as we did before. Keep the toes tucked. Push into the earth. And find yourself nicely held in the pelvis. So that forward and back movement, and also a squeezing inwards towards the midline. Once the pelvis is held nice and steady, the whole core at work, the muscles that link the lower body to the upper body. Once everything is engaged, then lift the arms and lift the eyes up to the thumbs. Find your pose. And then gently release. So the right hand comes down to the earth, and really feel yourself connecting downwards, pushing down, and seeing how that rooting sensation allows you to lift through the left hand into the twist. And then shift the eyes up beyond that top hand. See if the hand is reaching towards where your eyes are taking it. Feel yourself moving into the twist. And release. Back into downward facing dog. Take a moment. Take a breath. Eyes at the navel. Focusing our attention there, cultivating prana that can then flow through the whole of the body. And depending on how you feel, you may want to walk little steps forward, or you may want a bunny hop. If you do the bunny hop, then bend deep into the knees, take a big in-breath, a full exhale, lift the gaze to where you want your hop to take you, and bouncing forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. So in our forward fold, the gaze is at the toes. And again, just notice the quality. Is there just a dispassionate gaze? Is there a critical gaze? Or can we bring appreciation to the toes? The feet that hold us without ever demanding attention. And then gently ground the feet into the earth as you come up into the sky. Let the arms lift. And looking up at the thumbs. Palms together. And then down the middle line. Hands at the heart. Gaze at the third eye. And noticing how you feel in this moment. Is there still that quality of distraction? Is the outer world pulling your attention away? Or is there a sense of connection with the body, with the breath, with the movements, the sensations? So let's move into some simple sun salutes, noticing how the eyes shift as the poses change. Inhale, lifting the arms up and overhead, gaze at the thumbs. Exhale, swallow, dive down, gaze at the toes. Inhale, draw the heart forward, tip of the nose. Exhale, step the right leg back into lunge. Strong in that back thigh. Gazing forward. And then ground the hands, downward facing dog. Gazing back at the navel. Floating forward into plank. And lowering down, you can use knees, chin, chest, or chaturanga. Rolling shoulders back, coming into cobra, and finding the tip of your nose. Release. Coming up again, and maybe a little higher, just notice how the body responds to a sense of care and attention. Release. And then shifting hands a bit further back so that as you push down, you come into our classic upward facing dog. the neck long, the gaze at the tip of the nose. And then gently lifting up through the abdomen, rolling over the toes or using knees. That's another option. And finding downward facing dog. Breathing in, breathing out. The right leg floats up behind. The gaze moves forward so the foot knows where it's going. And finding your way back in lunge on the other side. Strong left thigh, hugging the femur bone. And then gently stepping forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, appreciating our toes. And then pushing into the earth to come all the way up. Arms wide. And then moving straight into our second sun salute. Just exploring the other side. So inhale, flat back. Exhale, left leg back. Strong thigh. Pull that left hip bone back. And then ground the hands, downward facing dog. Floating forward into plank and lowering to the earth. If you want to try chaturanga, move the shoulders over the fingertips, elbows hinge back, and lowering down. Rolling the shoulders back, coming into cobra. Exhale. Rolling again. Inhale up, make sure that breath is moving right down into the belly and the lower back to support you. Exhale, release. And then into upward dog, hands move a little bit further back so that you can straighten those arms, use the bones to hold us up, and the gaze at the tip of the nose. And then lifting up through the belly or using the knees, finding your way back into downward facing dog. Breathing in, breathing out. Left leg floats skywards, gaze lifts, the foot knows where it's going. Stepping forward. Strong thigh up on the fingertips. And then gently finding your way back to the front of the mat. Flat back. Forward bend. And push down to rise up. Arms lift into the sky. Find our Urdhva Hastasana, the palms together. This long, long pose. Seeing the thumbs. And then gently down the midline to the heart. And in our resting pose, we can return attention to between the eyes. A place of gentle focus. And then bending deep into the knees, so fingertips sweep. Come into Utkatasana. So you can pull the tailbone down and then lift the gaze up to the thumbs. Just see if you can really lengthen through the spine while activating the thighs. And then folding forward. Inhale, flat back. So this time we'll take left leg back. Into lunge to start with. And then grounding the heel. Push the feet into the earth and open into warrior two. So in warrior two, we take the gaze to somewhere we haven't yet explored, and that is into infinity. So we gaze over that middle finger and then beyond. The warrior is known as the person with vision, the willingness to courageously move through difficult experience in order to make that vision come true. So our gaze takes us to infinity and beyond. And then straightening the front leg. We're going to reach forward. So gaze at the hand now. bringing it down, maybe onto the shin or inside the leg, and then gently lift your gaze up to the top hand. And just as we did right at the start, see if it allows you to lengthen from one fingertip to the other side. Find that gentle twist in the body. And then reaching your top arm forward, the gaze can come down. Just feel that stretch through the side waist. And then slowly turning both hands to the earth and downward facing dog. Breathing in, breathing out. Floating forward, squeezing forearms together, nice and strong, shoulders broad, and lowering to the earth. Rolling the shoulders back, finding cobra, finding the tip of the nose. And release. Hands move back, let's take upward facing dog. And then lifting through the belly, downward facing dog. Breathing in, breathing out. We'll take warrior on the other side. I'll just turn around. So lifting the left leg, stepping forward between the hands, grounding that back heel and windmill the arms open. And once again, you can check the back arm just so that it's parallel with the earth, and then take your eyes beyond the fingertips to infinity. Breathing in, breathing out, and letting that sense of courage hold you steady in this strong pose. Thighs active, feet stretching the mat apart. And then straightening the front leg. I'm going to move into triangle, so reaching forward, keep that left side of the body long, and then coming down. So attention now on the hand, and then moving up from the bottom hand to the top hand, and finding this twist and this expansion from fingertips to fingertips. And then just gently lengthening that top arm. The gaze can drop just so that the neck feels supported. And then releasing down to the ground and stepping forward between the hands. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. And then coming once again into your Utkatasana. So bending deep into the knees and lifting the eyes to the thumbs. Pull the tailbone under, find that length in the lower back, strengthen the thighs, and then straightening up, palms together, down the midline. Using the middle of the forehead to keep us in the present moment. Often when we close our eyes, we just get taken away into the world of thought. And once again, let's bend deep into the knees, fingertips sweep, Utkatasana. And then bowing forward. Inhale, flat back. This time, right leg back. Grounding the heel, opening into warrior two. And then maybe bringing the elbow to that left thigh and reaching the top arm forward. But just allow that real length through the body. So it's a little bit of a spinal twist. Just lifting the gaze and taking the eyes out to the side. And then releasing. Back into downward facing dog. Breathing in, breathing out as you move through a vinyasa. Just finding your own variation. Maybe chaturanga, an upward facing dog, or use your knees and take a cobra, and then find your way back into downward facing dog. Full deep breath. And the right leg once again lifts up behind. Lift the gaze so the foot knows where it's going. And gently open into warrior two. And then Parshvakonasana. So bringing elbow to the thigh and reaching forward. Lifting the head if that feels comfortable. And then gently release. A big moon step to the front of the mat. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Our final Utkatasana. Looking up at the thumbs, sinking into the hips. And then gently coming back to standing. So now if you'd like to use a strap, you can get it ready. And we're going to take a couple of balance poses. So just allow yourself really to be strongly grounded on the one foot. And bring the other knee up into the chest. So this is where you want to find that unmoving spot on the ground, really nice and steady. And then you can take the strap around the bottom of the foot and holding wherever it feels comfortable. So you'll notice as soon as your gaze shifts, probably your body shifts as well. So see if you can find your spot and let that bring you the stability that you need. And then the knee can stay bent, or you can gently straighten it out. So you're either holding the toes or holding the strap, and the eyes are fixed on the earth. Allow that steadiness to infuse through your body. And then if you'd like variety, take the one hand out to the side, opposite from the leg, and slowly open that leg outwards, keeping the eyes fixed. Just see where it's willing to go. The knee might be bent, that's perfectly fine. The leg may straighten, you may fall. All those things are completely normal and fine. So just exploring, experimenting with the body and experimenting with this drishti point. And then returning to the very welcome stability of 2 feet. Attention in the middle of the forehead. Returning to this moment, any falling over in the last pose is now in the past. And then we play on the other side. So grounding the other foot, bringing that knee into the chest, finding your drishti point, letting it hold you as steady as you can. And there's other ways to stabilize by lifting the muscles around the perineum. So then bringing your strap or your hand to your foot and gently finding your way into this challenging balance pose. And if you like to, take the open hip variation, bring the one arm out to the side to counterbalance and gently open up. And release when you're ready. Well done. we can put the strap away. Coming back to stillness at the front of the mat. And letting the arms float skywards. Gaze at the thumbs. And then swallow dive. Draw the heart forward. And then stepping right leg and left leg back into downward facing dog. Gaze up at the navel. Breathing in, breathing out, floating forward into plank. And coming all the way down. And just enjoying a moment on the earth. The thing that is the most steady. We don't just bring our gaze here now, we bring the whole body and we touch the earth. And then gently bringing hands together behind you, interlacing the fingers, seeing if the shoulder blades are willing to squeeze together a little bit. And then softly lifting the heart, the head, and finding the tip of your nose with your eyes, and letting the legs lift. Our Shalabhasana, our locust pose. And gently floating on the breath, you might come a little higher on the inhale, soften off on the exhale. Just feel the muscles along the spine strengthening, fully supportive for our day. And hold and release. The other cheek can rest down on the earth, feeling that stability. And then gently pushing back onto your knees. So a very classic meditation pose. And just notice, in contrast to the beginning of the practice, how does your attention feel? Is it here with the body, with the breath, or is it still distracted? When we use a clear, focused attention, we tend to be able to kind of reassure the mind that it's okay to stay present. And then once we've found a greater ability to concentrate, now we can open our awareness. So still finding your attention at the third eye. The eyes can be in a soft panoramic gaze. And then open beyond the body, your space. Taking in everything around you. The sounds, the smells, the daily life. Noticing that we can stay in the midst of life with a sense of being centered. And then dropping the hips to one side of the feet and bringing your right leg over your left knee. So we're setting up for a twist. The hands can come on the knee. Let's see if both sits bones can be grounded. If one is lifted, you may want to put a little blanket or something under there, just so that you feel connected to the earth. And then lengthening the spine up and gently turning the body towards that thigh. And you may want to cradle the knee with the arm and take the other arm behind you. And then we'll play once again with the eyes, moving them from side to side. So taking your gaze over your shoulder and just seeing if the body's willing to follow. So as we said, drishti aids movement. And now keeping the body where it is, but let the eyes move as if they were gazing over the left shoulder. Can feel quite tricky. And then gazing to the right again, and notice if the body's willing to go a little bit further. You may be able to take the elbow against the knee. And then the eyes move back without moving the head, quite tricky. And then gazing once again. So we orient the pranic body, we move the energy in the direction of our attention. And then gently releasing the head and the neck and the gaze, and bringing your top knee on top of the bottom knee. So this is our cow face pose. It doesn't work for everyone. You may find there's a gap between the knees, in which case a blanket is a very lovely support. But bringing the heels either out or next to the buttocks. And then lengthening the spine and softly easing your way in. So this is quite a deep hip stretch. And we can slowly turn the gaze inwards as if it was moving in the direction of the navel. And by moving attention there, of course, we're inviting our breath to deepen right down into the belly. This place that actually feels compressed right now. But then allowing the out-breath to give a sense of space and melting in using gravity. And another way we can use our inner gaze is to take our attention to anywhere that feels vulnerable, where there's sensation. So maybe it's deep into your hip crease. So move attention there and see if the breath can follow, creating a little space. So that when the breath flows out, the sensation can ease a little. We maybe can deepen. And then slowly lifting the head, lengthening up through the spine, gaze gently out in front. And then switching sides, so just crossing the legs over. You've got your left knee maybe on top. Both buttocks resting down either onto the floor or onto a cushion, just making sure they feel they're supported. And then lifting the spine as long as it can go and turning towards the thigh, maybe cradling that knee. And then moving the eyes over that back shoulder. And just notice where the body is in this moment. And then move the eyes without moving the head. And move them back. And is the body willing now to shift a little deeper? Maybe the elbow comes against the knee. The eyes move to the right once again, the opposite direction. And then using them to take the body into a deeper experience of the twist. Once more. Feeling your way in, letting each vertebrae twist just a millimeter, which gives us an incredible range of spinal movement. And then returning the gaze, the head, the neck into alignment. And the left knee is now on top for our cow face pose, meant to look like the jaws of a cow, Gomugasana. And bringing the heels maybe next to the buttocks, maybe using a blanket between the knees if that's more supportive. And then initially find your length and then gently curve inwards, experiencing sensation and shifting our awareness to that sensation, using the breath to nourish, to nurture, to find that inner tenderness. And this is where we can, often learn about our mind. Are we able to look at ourselves just observing, no extra evaluation? Or is there sometimes a critical stare? Or can we cultivate a tender, soft, appreciative gaze? And then slowly lifting up. Long spine. And our last playful pose, just to use our drishti to keep our balance. We're going to bring the knees into the chest and reach for your toes. And then gently come into your angular balance. So keep the eyes fixed on something in front of you. Let the counterbalance between the legs and the torso. Just find this place of unexpected stability. Resting just back of the sits bones. Playing with the legs, maybe they want to come a little wider or a little closer together. And then bending the knees. And once again, using the abdomen just to take us down to the ground. Slowly, slowly. Until you're in constructive rest, the knees bend, the feet pushing away so the spine can be long. We often hear little spinal releases here, little pops, like a chiropractic movement. And then gentle undulations. Having twisted, done some back bend in the Shalabhasana, just nourish the spine right from the inside. And then finding your blanket. And setting up for a Shavasana that is very present. We often talk of having a yang mind in Shavasana. So a mind that's very aware, very much connected with this moment, not distracted by thoughts. So you may want to rest the attention once again. It's between the eyes, our third eye, our eye of insight. And then let the body find this beautiful yin pose of receptivity. Almost as if the body is spreading like water. And making our commitment for the rest of the day to be clear and focused, using our gaze to direct our energy and attention, and then also noticing the quality of the gaze. So right now, bringing a sense of gratitude or appreciation to this body of ours. Recognizing its strength, its flexibility, its ability to balance, often with support, and that willingness to ask for support is another wonderful quality of being human. Acknowledging and appreciating our connection with others. And then bringing one knee up and the other into the chest for a hug. And you're welcome either to roll to one side as we usually do, or to bring the feet back down, to roll the chin into the chest, to reach the arms forward and to take the gaze forward beyond the knees, inviting the body to come back up. And then we end as we began. Cross-legged pose, our drishti point on the third eye. And bringing hands together at the heart. Just dedicating whatever benefit we found today in our practice, offering it out to all beings. And whatever challenges we experienced, we make the deep wish that others may be free from difficulty, free from these challenges, and that we may all abide in great equanimity, that perfect balance of body and mind. Namaste.